This is not right. A reckless driver kills a 6-year-old girl in a vehicle accident. God bless the victim and her family and friends. It's not right.
What?
She's supposed to be over the course of probation.
Yeah. Well, I'm out of attorneys except for Lincoln, so I think I'm gonna have to go. Is everybody ready for that?
Redmond?
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna have to, I understand it. It was fine going last. He almost alphabetically goes last anyway, but at this point in time, keep this. Distribute everything else.
I was hoping to get a walk-in appointment scheduled.
Maybe with a magistrate?
Yeah, emailed him and I was hoping to catch him, but then he left, so.
Good.
I talked to the clerks as well.
What's that?
I talked to the clerks as well, and no one seems to want to give me an answer, so I'm just sitting here.
Send an email to him. So we'll go with Redmond. I believe there's a number of people who intend to give statements. So, Mr. Lincoln, if you and your client want to have a seat at the defense table. I'm gonna have you help me direct who you want is coming up first.
You want to start with the statements first, Your Honor?
Yeah.
We're gonna have Nathan Phillips.
Thank you. Mr. Phillips, I'm gonna do me a favor. I'm gonna have you spell both your names for our court recorder,
Okay.
and then you can say everything you need to say.
All right. Do you need middle name as well, or just first and last? All right. NATHANPHILLIPS.
Thank you.
That's my index. Sorry if I stutter.
Take deep breaths and pressure, or I know there's pressure regardless, but I'm not trying to hurry you. So,
October 23rd, 2016, I'm in a hospital room being told to grab my damn hand by my daughter's mother. As I'm watching what at the time I didn't realize was what would be the most important thing to me and was being brought into this world. Not proud of how long it took me to realize how important that little girl was actually going to be to me, but as time moved on, she became someone I couldn't live without. Fast forward 6.5 years to what would be the worst year of my life and a year no parent ever thinks they will have to go through. I'm being told I should write an impact statement to explain how the death of my beautiful daughter has, excuse me, my beautiful little girl has affected me and those around me. If you're a parent yourself, I hope, I never hope you're put into this type of situation. And if you have been, you're probably like me and aren't fully sure how you'd even begin to put into words how devastated you are from this incident. An incident that could have easily been avoided and prevented if that asshole had even had the basic sense of concern for someone else's safety on the day or any given day. So let's see if I'm able to convey to you how I've been affected by this situation. For her family and friends in attendance, you all know just what kind of amazing and happy little girl Emma was and will always be. But for those of you who will never get to experience how special she was, I'll try to explain a little about her and what she was like. My daughter was like most little girls her age. She enjoyed playing with her toys, going to visit friends and family, being outside playing, or playing with her many cats and dogs she had at either her mom's house or mine, just to name a few. Her evenings and weekends she spent with me were normally spent at the park, swimming in the summer, going to museums, zoos, or just spent doing things at home, whether they would be playing on her swing set and on her trampoline or playing with her dogs. The last time I got, excuse me.
Deep breath.
The last time I got to spend with my daughter was spent by taking her to the baby animal day at the zoo, just the weekend and hours before that horrible day. Really, that last day together normally wouldn't have happened since it was her mother's weekend. So in some ways, I was blessed to have that little extra time with her before I'd never be able to again. People say that you should enjoy the time with your family and friends because you never know when those times will end. I'm sure most people say that are referring to those who are elderly or truly sick and may not have much time left. On May 22nd, 2023, I'm at work like most people, not thinking the day was going to be any different than the ones prior. Just doing my job and hoping the day doesn't drag along so that I could get out at a decent time and then I could pick up my daughter and hear how her day at school was and if she did anything more exciting in her did anything more exciting things in her final days before school would end. It was the last week of first grade for her, and they were working on field day games and activities. So as I was expecting to hear some good stories on how the day went. But what I expected to happen that day never did. And something more horrific happened. I got a call saying that my daughter and her mom got into a car accident and that it wasn't good. At that point, I'm frantically grabbing my stuff and telling the first coworker I come across as I run out the door that I had an emergency and I had to leave. As I get into my car, I'm trying to call hospitals to find out where my daughter is being taken to because I didn't know. I get down the road and I see an ambulance lights head towards the Greenville Hospital, not knowing if she was in it or not. I instinctively followed and arrived at the hospital seconds after they did. I ran inside not knowing what to expect. It turns out I was right to follow them because they were carrying my daughter. I wasn't allowed to go into the room with her right away, but I knew it probably wasn't good because all I could see in the room was a room full of people doing many things around a hospital bed. When I was finally allowed into the room, I couldn't believe what I saw. My smiley, goofy, always full of energy little girl was laying there almost lifeless on the bed with a team of nurses and paramedics doing all they could to keep her stable until AeroMed came. As I kneeled there next to her bed waiting, all I could do was cry and try talking to her, hoping that maybe my words would get her to react. A slight smile, a squeeze of my hand, something and anything that would show me that she knew I was right next to her and she wasn't alone. The time we were there was short, and before we made it to Ellen DeVos, and that Ellen DeVos was really short in the grand scheme of things as well. But for me, it felt like a lifetime of waiting and hoping she would wake up and say, "Daddy, where are we?" During our time there, besides short visits from the doctors and those who loved Emma to visit, was just me talking to her, trying to get the slightest reaction out of her. Between those visits and little talks I had with her, I kept catching myself thinking about all the things I'd never be able to do with her if she never woke up. All the first and last days of school, the music recitals, the school dances and field trips, all the summer vacation trips I had planned and places I thought she would like, and all leading up to her getting her diploma and starting her journey into adulthood. And getting her first job, going to college if that's what she wanted. So many firsts that her and I will never be able to experience together. So many joyous and happy occasions that will never be able to happen because that motherfucker's blatant disregard for someone else's safety and well-being. Making the selfish decision to drive high and supposedly tired and thinking he should keep going instead of stopping and taking a break until he was safe to continue. For that recklessness, he put a giant hole in so many people's lives, a hole that will never be able to be filled. Trying to adapt and find a new normal these past months after I had to make the call that meant she would never be coming home again, I had to leave my daughter in the hospital, leaving with my head hung low and walking in a daze, not really knowing what to do but to follow my parents to my car, has been nothing short of a nightmare that I can't seem to wake up from. Before I would see my daughter almost every day. I would see her after school and hear how her day went, and if she did anything new and fun after I got out of work and had picked her up. It was one of the best parts of my sometimes hard and long days at work. It made me think that it wasn't really all that bad and I could keep getting up the next day without a care of how tired I was or how much I didn't want to go. Another thing some of you might think is kind of funny, but my favorite part of the day is when she would spend the night and I'd be able to brush her hair before bed. She had long, beautiful hair that would sometimes get knotted into a mess from all the playing and whatnot she had done that day. But something about brushing it out nice and straight was really relaxing to me and calmed me down more than anything else could. When Emma was around, my house was always full of sounds, laughing, running, roller skates whizzing across the floor, playing with the dogs, and so many more that I really can't explain. But now when I get home, I hear and see none of that. Instead, now I come home to a quiet house with nothing but the depression and loneliness of not having her by my side waiting for me. Even more when no one is around for me to pretend that I'm fine in front of. It's all been taken away from me and I won't ever be able to get it back. I will be trapped in this never-ending nightmare until the day I no longer have to keep going without my baby girl. My always beautiful, oh so smart and precious Emma Christine Phillips. I'm not one for words, and more so when it's a hard subject for me to talk about, let alone. But I hope this has given you a little glimpse of the pain my family and I have been through these past months and will continue to go through for the rest of our lives due to the loss of my beautiful and precious little girl. No amount of jail time or reparations will bring us peace or bring my daughter back. And although I feel that his current charges are only a slap on the wrist compared to what has been lost, I ask that he gets the max conviction for what he's being charged for with no chance of parole and a fully served sentence, as much as possible.
Phillips, the maximum sentence here is 1 year in jail. I can't see that. It's impossible.
Well, I can ask for what I can ask, and you can do what you do.
It's not what I can do. I cannot do
Well,
more than that.
yes, what you're able to do.
If I do that, there's no probation that follows that. There's nothing that.
Okay. I wasn't sure of the extent of what it could be leading up to it and beyond.
I want you to understand, so you have an understanding where I'm at. So I appreciate everything you said. I do have children, but so I do understand. I just want you to be aware of where I'm at too, so you don't think that I'm disregarding your I'm not.
Yes.
And I appreciate everything you said. All right. Anything else, sir?
No, that is it.
Thank you. Have a seat. If you one behind me, you got one up there.
No, there's some over here. What's that? Thank you.
Next, Your Honor, will be Candace McCumber. Same, please. Spell your first and last name.
KANDICEMCCUMBER.
That's why Candace can spell with C for you.
Huh?
That's why I asked for both, because I wasn't sure how you started your first name.
Oh. I do have two statements. I have one written in behalf of my daughter, and then I have my own. We all know we are here today because a horrific event occurred on May 22nd, 2023. This day changed so many lives, not only for Emma's father and I, who lost our only child, but also our families who lost a granddaughter, a niece, a cousin, and friend. Emma was a rainbow. Even on the gloomiest days, she could make you smile. Even after the storm, she was always a reminder that everything would be okay. She was a bright, beautiful, and smart 6.5-year-old girl. She brought so much joy to anyone who knew her. Parents generally always stay strong for their children. They try not to let the fear show that they feel. Emma was my rock. She was the only person who gave me all the strength I needed. She needed me to be her strength and rock, but I relied on her to get me through everything. There were times when it was just the two of us, and I knew that as long as we had each other, we could face anything, as long as we were together. The day before, she had just gone to see baby animals at the zoo with her father and finally lost another tooth that was just hanging on. She loved going to school and seeing all of her friends. We were on our way to school that morning when this tragedy happened. I can't remember anything from this day or anything for quite a time after. I was told by a neurologist that I had a severe brain injury. I may never regain full memory and will have to deal with this for the rest of my life. I can't even remember saying goodbye to my own daughter in the hospital. I have pictures that were taken so I could have some sort of memory when I was there with her. I was in and out of consciousness, but there's no memory. Then I come out of this fog and was told we were both in a bad accident and she didn't make it. In a matter of seconds, our lives were changed forever. In just a matter of moments, everything we loved was taken from us. I understand accidents happen and there are things you cannot control. That is a tragedy. This is a tragedy. Mr. Redmond stated he fell asleep, but police officers notified us that you were texting. Then you told people your iron levels dropped low, so you passed out. So which scenario was it? Because I believe this was negligence on your part. If you were falling asleep while driving, why would you not pull over and sit for a moment? When your eyes closed, why did you not think to stop? Accidents are forgivable, but this was preventable. This was not an accident. You took away my little girl. She had so much life ahead of her. My injuries were minuscule compared to the damage you emotionally caused. Cars are replaceable, but the life you took isn't. Now we all mourn for the loss of this beautiful girl. I truly wish this tragedy would have killed me and she could have lived. I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. Most importantly, I wish this tragedy never occurred. I do believe this tragedy could have easily been avoided, but you were totally irresponsible. The injuries from the impact that took her life will have everlasting physical and emotional trauma for myself and our families. Emma's leg and spine were broken. They spent almost a half an hour doing CPR on the scene and continued to do so on the way to the hospital. Aeromed had came to Greenville so she could be transferred to Helen DeVos. Her brain had swelled so much that it was pushing her spinal cord away. She had a heart attack, fluid around her lungs, kidneys were failing, and internal bleeding. This was a tragedy. It was not an accident. My only request is that you state the true facts of what happened that day to defend the honor of my daughter and not let lies keep spreading. My daughter was not sitting in the front seat of that car. She was sitting behind me in her car seat. The report says you were unconscious when they arrived, that you told everyone to help the other families get out first. If you can do one thing, own up to truly what happened that day. The injuries from that impact took her life. My daughter's dog was also in the car that day. He always slept right next to her in the car. He sustained life-threatening injuries and almost lost his life. If a good Samaritan had not come upon us when she did, we both would have been burnt to death in the car. She first pulled Emma out, and when she came back, there were already flames coming through the vents. It is our hope that you feel remorseful for what you have done, cutting the life short of our beautiful daughter, Emma. I hope you know the repercussions of what all this has caused. I don't know how you sleep at night knowing what you've done. What if Emma was your child? I don't know you, and I really will never care to, but I do want justice for my little girl, and because of you, she cannot fight for herself. You truly deserve more than what you're getting, and I know both her fathers and my families agree. You don't have to come home to a quiet house. You don't have to live every day without the person who meant the most to you. You don't have to cry yourself to sleep every night. You don't have to think about why you're still here in this world while your daughter isn't. You don't have to look at a tree while driving and think maybe I'm better off gone and try everything in your power not to move that steering wheel just a little bit and end the pain and suffering. Because if you did, at least you could see your baby girl again. You don't know the power it takes to keep moving every day, because the only thing you can think about is the fact that your daughter is gone. You don't have to go by the crash site and look at the burn in the pavement and all the crosses gathered as a memorial. You may go by and see them, but for you, you walked away. My daughter didn't walk away. She laid on the side of the road while they did CPR for 30 minutes before they could even transport her. They had every road cleared and blocked so they could rush her to United Hospital and stabilize her before Aeromed got there. She was intubated at the scene of the crash. I couldn't walk for almost 4 months and still struggle. You don't have to go by her bedroom every morning or stare at the pictures on the wall of her smiling face. I get to watch every person in her life grow up, and yet my girl didn't even make it to her 7th birthday. She didn't even make it to the end of first grade. She had 3 days left. We wouldn't be able to see her get her driver's license. We wouldn't be able to see her graduate and receive her high school diploma. We won't be able to see her achieve her dream career. We won't be able to see her marry the person she wants to spend the rest of her life with. We won't be able to be with her. She brings new life into this world and watch them grow up. We will miss so many moments, but most importantly, she will be missing these moments. She will never be able to know how her life should have been. No matter what the outcome of this is, it will never be enough justice for us. 2 years, apparently a year, of sitting in jail doesn't seem like enough time for someone who killed our sweet little girl. Someone who took her future away, who took her from all of us. Emma had so much life left. She had so much left to accomplish and do. There is so much we will never know because you took that away from us, but more importantly, Emma. Our hope today is that Emma will receive some justice. Like I stated before, there will never be full justice. We do ask, though, as a family, that he has the full punishment. We ask for no leniency. The man who sits before us took away our everything, our sweet baby girl.
Your Honor, I'm gonna, for the record, I have to object this statement being read.
Reasons, because you're saying she didn't prepare it? And she's doing it from that perspective, but I think I can take notice that she actually wrote it.
The statute says the court will consider anything it wants to, so I'll leave it to you, but.
I'm gonna allow her to do it. I understand your objection, but I'm of the opinion that this mother, you wrote this, correct?
Yes, I did. I wrote both of them.
And I think that she's got the right to do that. I think that this is her way of impressing upon the court her grief and her information that they want to have before me to consider it sentencing. So I'm going to allow her to do it. It's her way to express it. And I think it's appropriate. So she can go ahead and read the statement.
Okay.
It's overruled.
This letter is written on behalf of Emma Christine Phillips, whose life was tragically cut short on May 22nd, 2023. My name is Emma Christine Phillips. It was May 22nd. It was a normal morning, fighting with my mom about getting up for school. I love school, but I hated getting up early. My mom and I argued about what I was going to wear until we finally agreed on something. I ran down the stairs, put my shoes on, I grabbed my donuts and orange juice and headed to the car. My dog Willoughby sat beside me while my mom buckled me into my car seat. I had my phone in one hand and food in the other. My light up kitty headphones are sitting on my head. Mom made sure she grabbed my backpack and lunch. I looked up from my phone over to the rising sun across the field when all of a sudden there was a loud crash and everything went black. I'm not sure what happened, but all of a sudden I was seeing myself outside of my body. I was laying in a hospital bed hooked to cords and a tube running down my throat and one through my side. I couldn't even recognize myself. Nurses were rushing around. I remember being in a hospital when I got my tonsils out, but I don't remember anything like this. My dad was crying and leaning over me. Why was he crying? Why was he so upset? I don't like seeing him cry. What happened? I was just in the car with my mom and now I'm here like this. Where is my mom? Doctors were in and out of my room and Dad was becoming more upset. My mom was laying next to me in a hospital bed hooked to oxygen with bandages all over. She couldn't say much, but she held my hand while my dad held my other hand. All the people I love were in the room at this moment. Mom came to see me a few times, but she couldn't ever say much. Dad just cried and never left my side. Doctors were saying I had no brain activity. They were saying there was too much damage to my body to come back from. I was right here, though. Why couldn't anyone see me? Everything faded into the moment where I saw my body lying in a large brown box. I had on a beautiful dress and my nails were painted the color of a rainbow, and I had my favorite necklaces on. There were a lot of people around this box and crying. People were putting things in my box with me and leaning over and crying. A man even said some words while everyone sat crying. There were so many people here. Every chair was full. I looked through the crowd, recognizing so many in my family. All were crying and holding each other. I don't understand anything that has happened. I don't know why I'm gone. I don't know why no one can see me. I don't understand why I can no longer play with my friends. I don't understand why my parents keep crying and they don't know I am trying to comfort them. Why can't I be with them? Why couldn't I see my friends that day? Why couldn't I see my mom and dad after school? There are so many things that I will never be able to do. No more roller skating, no more snuggling with my animals, no more rock collecting, no more cuddles with my parents, no more seeing my friends, no more vacations or trips. What did I do to deserve to be taken away from my family, to be taken away from my friends? How was I here and then gone? What?
Anything else? The last oral statement.
It is, Your Honor.
The other statement I read. And others.
I didn't hear you.
There's a grandparent one as well. I think I've already read that one. Yeah. Mr. Evans, go ahead.
Your Honor. Morning of May 22nd last year changed the lives of countless people. Rex Redmond fell asleep at the wheel and then collided head-on with a Subaru Outback. Mr. Redmond admitted to officers that just moments before the crash, he had caught himself dozing off, but thought he was close enough to home he could make it. A truly fatal decision. A decision that will haunt the lives of those involved, including their families and friends from both sides for the rest of their lives. A tragic mistake that cost the life of 6-year-old Emma Christine Phillips and seriously injured her mom, Candace McCumber. Social media surrounding this incident has been both uninformed and untrustworthy. To set the record straight, there was no drugs or alcohol involved. Emma was in a car seat in the back of the Subaru when the crash occurred, buckled in just like she was supposed to be. Miss McCumber carries no fault for the crash. This was a grave and tragic decision on the part of Mr. Redmond and his fault alone. For those grieving the loss of Emma, there is nothing that this court can do to bring Emma back. Nothing can make you whole again. Nothing can repair the hole in your heart. You will always be left with the questions of why her? How could this have happened? Why not me? God, could you not have just taken me instead? You are left angry and depressed. Emma had so much potential in her life. So many things left never experienced nor accomplished, but she will always be loved. She will always be remembered by you. Hold on to what you had. Hold on to those joyous memories and let love be your guiding light. Your Honor, Mr. Redmond's plea offer left open the penalty he should suffer to the discretion of the court. The court has heard from both Emma's mom and dad. They've heard written statements, or they've viewed written statements from other friends and family members. And all have expressed their wishes that Mr. Redmond suffer the maximum penalty possible. And furthermore, given the seriousness of this crime, a little girl was taken, and the deterring effect on society, roughly 6,000 deaths per year occur because of drowsy driving. And just recently, we hear public campaigns to, just like we did in the past with the drunk driving statistics, to educate people on not driving while drowsy. Taking all of the things together, it's the prosecution's recommendation that you follow the family's wishes and sentence Mr. Redmond to the maximum penalty of 1 year in jail. Further.
There are no amount of words can bring this child back. No amount of words can take the pain away from the family. No amount of words can take the pain away from Mr. Redmond, because he is feeling pain too. Yes, he fell asleep, he believes. And yes, he has no memory of what happened. And that is, if anybody has been in a traumatic accident like that, I can speak from personal experience, you'll say things that you don't remember. And maybe that's what happened. I don't know. But no matter what I say, this child's not going to come back. Pain's not going to go away. And I don't really care what the court does. And I don't mean that I don't care, because I do care. But I mean, the court's in not a position to make things better. It isn't going to happen. I don't think society is going to gain by punishing Mr. Redmond. I don't think Mr. Redmond needs to be rehabilitated. I don't think any of the factors that we use for sentencing are going to be gained today by the court throwing Mr. Redmond in jail for a year or 10 years. This is something that people do all the time. Well, it's going to be interesting with the EVs coming out. If people are sleeping and they're driving, that's one thing. But being a human being and getting drowsy and thinking, I can get home, people do that. It doesn't make it right, but people do that.
I think that's Mr. Evans' point, that I should be trying to deter that.
He shouldn't have done that. That's true. But he's being a human being is what I'm saying. And I hope this court is not presented with cases like this for the duration of your term.
I've got 2 today.
Pardon?
I've got another one today.
Well, I don't care what you do, because I think what we have here is nothing but losses. There's no gains in this anyplace. And I think the probation's recommendation is a balancing act. And I think that I'm asking the court to go along with that, because I think that's about the best the court can do. You can't make it better, Judge. It's just unfortunate.
I would agree with that. I'm trying to make it just. This question goes back to Mr. Evans. I got another one of these today where there was a possible factor. Somebody was killed, other people were injured, and I can't give them any more than 93 days in jail. So I'm trying to weigh that too with what's just with my whole docket.
Are you asking me to explain? Yeah. Well, as the court knows, justice is individualized. It demands it. The case that you're referring to with Sidney Mullins is completely different than this case, and should be treated.
There were active drugs in her system.
I agree.
She killed somebody.
That's true too. But there were also active drugs in the other 2 drivers.
No, there wasn't. They were inactive. And she's the only one that had any kind of driving that was effective.
And on top of that, the victims involved in that other case are completely out of the picture. We've tried multiple times to reach out, ask for opinions, ask for them to get involved, and they refused to.
Was there any other driving from any other victims that were problematic in that case?
Well, we had two other drivers.
Okay. Only one that committed a traffic offense.
And so that's the reason. That's the reason with the plea agreement. I think the prosecutor's office, the prosecutor who charged the case with Ms. Mullins, felt that he couldn't prove the driving while intoxicated and charge it as the 1-year misdemeanor instead. As the court knows, it is difficult to prove driving while intoxicated via marijuana.
I'm saying I'm trying to balance that, because I've got still say that there's no intoxication. I still got a moving violation causing same as I have. I can't go over 93 days in that case.
And plus, Ms. Mullins just had a baby. That's taken into consideration as well.
That's taken into consideration because Mr. Redmond can't have a baby.
Well, that's different, because the first year in a child's life is the most important. You can't argue against that. And so when we're trying to balance what justice is for the victim, it's not just justice for the society. When the victim doesn't get involved, and then the standard of justice is different than in a case like this, where the victims are wholeheartedly involved in this. Every step of the way, they want justice for themselves. The victims in the other case are not involved, and they could, I assume they could care less.
So I'm trying to make this, I'm trying to be fair. I'm trying to be justice for all, and that it's all the same for everybody.
Well, I don't think that,
Take into effect things that people can't control.
right, I don't think that you should set a standard like, oh, you plead guilty or convicted of this particular type of crime, everybody should get the same penalty.
I agree.
That should not happen. Justice is tailored to the individual and the individual circumstances.
That's my point. I don't see anything that really differentiates. If anything, I think the other one maybe more. Mr. Lincoln, have you had an opportunity to read the PSI in this matter?
Yes, Your Honor, we believe it's correct.
Any additions, corrections, or deletions?
No.
Is there anything you or your client want to say before I go forward to sentencing today?
I would like to say something.
You're going to speak up, sir. I can't hear you.
I would like to say something.
Go ahead.
I am truly sorry for what happened. And I live with it every day of my life. Every time I look at my niece, I can't even imagine. I am truly sorry for your family. But I was never on drugs. I don't drink. It was just a tragic accident. I was overworked. And I wish I could remember everything. There ain't no day go by. I wish it was me. And every day I wake up, I just wish I'd die. That's all I have to say.
Mr. Evans actually eloquently, when he was making his statement, covered most of the area what I can say in this event.
There's nothing I can do that's going to make anybody feel better when this is over. That's not what this is about today. This is about a just sentence. I do feel bad for everybody involved. It's my job to be fair. So I try to always take into consideration the victim's family and the defendant equally. Justice requires that, and that's my personal belief as well. Everybody is the same under the law, and everybody's equal deserving of our love. So we are called to do such a thing. So I have to consider that. That doesn't mean that I go easy on you either, Mr. Redmond, because there's something that hasn't been stated that is problematic to me. You've been in 3 accidents in 3 years. You should have been more cautious. I do agree 100% that falling asleep and driving is a serious problem. I know other families who have been affected by this and lost loved ones. And all of us need to take that into consideration when we are getting in that situation. Your life's not over. When this is over, it's going to be incumbent upon you to start making a positive difference in action for change. And I hope that the victims in this matter, and I think there's many of them, this reverberates through our society, can find a way to also affect positive change on this community, hopefully, in honor of a innocent little girl who's not here. So I would agree that often this type of case would not go along with probation, especially under the changes, but this guy's got 3 accidents in 3 years. He's pretty much been at fault at all of them. He has been escalating. So I think probation may actually be appropriate to some extent. If I max him out in jail, I can't do that. Mr. Lincoln, do you have anything else you want to say before I impose sentence? Sorry?
No, Your Honor.
On the moving violation causing death count, You'll be placed on probation for a period of 2 years. You won't violate any laws of any unit of government. You won't leave the state without first getting consent of the court. You'll make a truthful report to the probation officer as required. You'll notify the probation officer immediately of any address change or employment status. You'll pay fines, costs, restitution, other obligations. You'll submit to a warrantless search of yourself, your home, or property for any illegal activities as well as any violations of probation. Associate with anybody on parole or probation. You won't have any contact with the victims involved, third party or otherwise. You're not to consume alcohol, marijuana, or any mind-altering substances to be in the presence of anybody using them. You will submit to testing of your blood, breath, urine, or saliva to detect for those substances. You'll pay costs associated with that. You will not dilute or have any adulterated samples. You'll take your prescription medications as required by probation or by a doctor. You'll complete outpatient counseling and a cognitive-based program, as well as complete the victim's impact panel. Another probation as required, or other counseling as required by the probation, including that but not limited to those things. You'll be in your residence as required. Will not operate a motor vehicle without a proper license. I'd like to order him also to do a driving improvement program. I mean, this is 3 accidents in 3 years. Again, I reiterate, there's nothing I can do with this. It's going to make it better for anybody, but there does have to be a message. You had 3, the third time. It does greatly concern me that you knew you were getting tired and you didn't pull over. You had at least a heads up. I can see a situation where this would be even warranted of no jail. That's not today. You'll serve 180 days in jail with credit for 4 days served upon arrest. You'll pay a fine. I'm not going to do the maximum fine. There's a lot of restitution in this. I think the victims need to get paid. I'm not all that interested in us getting paid. You'll pay a fine of $200. State assessment fee of $50. Cost will be $100. Restitution right now is $10,711.18 to Ms. McCumber, $4,603.20 to Ms. Phillips. Do you want a hearing on that? Counsel, you have the right to.
A crucial reminder here, help is available if you or anyone you know is a victim of domestic violence. You can call the phone number there on your screen or simply text the word START to 88788.
Thanks for watching. We appreciate you. Please subscribe.